Dragonball Z! Hey guys, welcome to Rakasaka's Top 10 Dragon Ball Z characters. Are any characters that you like made the list? Well, let's find out. At the number 10 spot we have Boma. Now I've always enjoyed Boma as a character, but one of the reasons why she's so low on the list is because comparatively to Dragon Ball, she's not quite as useful in this series. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, her usefulness varies tremendously when it comes to Dragon Ball Z in particular. If you really look at it, the only sagas in which she's really that helpful is the Frieza saga and the Cell saga, and even then it's mostly just the Frieza saga because she's the one that navigates the ship. She didn't even build the ship, it was Dr. Brief that did that. And she also was the one who, you know, she made that little radio thing to contact the people back at home. And I'm not sure whether or not they would have even sent Goku out into outer space had she not done that. So, you know, she is pretty useful when it comes to making inventions and whatnot. But other than that, she didn't really serve that much of a purpose in Dragon Ball Z. And though she did serve enough of a purpose to where I put her on the number 10 spot. At the number 9 spot on this list we have Gohan. Now the reason why he's so low on this list compared to before is because, you know, I began to understand his character a lot more, and I've appreciated a lot of other characters in DBZ a lot more, so his position fell significantly. So the things I like about Gohan is that Gohan has the second most dynamic character growth in the entire series, next to Vegeta, of course. And the other thing I enjoy about Gohan is that, you know, his character growth is fairly consistent, kind of like Vegeta. Though I would argue Vegeta grows overall a bit more, and you can see measurable growth in each saga, but, you know, that's not the case with Gohan in each saga. I feel that the Buu saga has the most lacking when it comes to Gohan's character development, almost like it stops in the early part of that saga. But, you know, maybe that's just me. The other thing I like about Gohan is the fact that, you know, he has a different motivation for fighting than Goku, Vegeta, and many of the others. He doesn't fight just for the thrill of it. He fights to protect his loved ones and to protect the Earth, which I think is a very noble goal. So ultimately I really like Gohan for those reasons. And the reasons why I don't like him is because, simply put, I think he gets too cocky when he gets too powerful, and this has happened twice already. The first time it happened was during the Cell arc when he got Super Saiyan 2 power boost. He just kept fooling around, and, you know, Cell managed to use that as a distraction to try to blow up the Earth. And then he did that again in the Buu saga with Super Buu. And once again, Buu used that as a distraction to be able to absorb his younger brother and his trainer. So for all those reasons, I think that, you know, Gohan's not as good of a character as I once thought he was. But that's just my opinion. At my number 8 spot we have Curren, or Curren. The reason why he's on here is because I've grown an appreciation of him as of late, particularly after watching the Japanese. The thing about Curren is he's supposed to be the everyman, and I'm able to relate to him a lot more than a lot of these other characters. And I notice when it comes to Curren, I mean, he has his faults, such as when he refused to use the deactivation button on Android 18, and he must be partially to blame for Cell reaching his perfect form. But nonetheless, I think that overall he is a pretty rational character. He's just not that strong. I mean, let's be honest. But then again, he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be the everyman character who's just trying his best, and who ultimately, his life isn't about fighting. He just fights because he feels that he's obligated to. And of course at a certain point he retires, so he's very relatable to that respect. And the reason why I place him above Boma and Gohan is because I feel he's been a bit more useful to the series, particularly as a distraction and as a strategist. So for all those reasons, I feel that Curren is a really good character and that he should be in my number 8 spot. At my number 7 spot, we have King Kai, or Kaio. The reason why he's up here is because he's one of the most funny as well as the most useful characters in the series. You know, he cracks a lot of jokes and he's very entertaining to listen to. However, as we know, he's one of the most useful characters in the series. He's the one that contacts Goku to let him know about certain dangers and to let him know about certain characters such as Frieza, for instance. He also let Goku know about the science. And not only that, but he also was the sole reason why they were able to contact everybody on Earth for the Spirit Bomb. And of course, he was the reason for how Goku was able to contact Gohan to be able to kill Cell. So all that alone is more than what the previous characters that I mentioned did. So, you know, for all those reasons, plus his personality, you know, I really enjoy him. I also enjoy the fact that he's a father figure to Goku to a certain extent. Because, you know, he looks after him, he cares about him and everything. Like, some would just say he's a master, but, you know, I would disagree. I think he kind of fulfills a similar role to Grandpa Gohan. At least from what I understand of Grandpa Gohan, because we don't really know that much about the relationship. So I think for now, to a certain extent, you know, King Kai actually does, like recently I've come to view him as a father figure to Goku, sort of. At my number 6 spot, we have Cell.
Hey, did you mention my name?
Yeah, but...
But nothing. What do you have to say about me?
Oh, don't worry, it'll be good stuff, you know.
Whatever. I gotta be somewhere.
Sorry guys, that was Cell. But anyway, the things I like about Cell is the fact that he has one of the greatest intros in the series ever. You know, it's straight out of a horror movie. There's also the fact that I really enjoy his personality, particularly in the English dub. I don't like it as much in the Japanese, but even in the Japanese it's pretty frightening, and, you know, it conveys his personality enough. There's also, of course, the fights between him and various characters. I really enjoy the fight between him and Piccolo. I enjoy the fight between him and Goku, especially, and even the fight between him and Trunks, which was extended in the anime. And of course, I really enjoy just the very concept of Cell. The fact that he's supposed to be this perfect being. He's basically made from the strongest characters in the universe. So by Dr. Giro's, you know, twisted logic, he thinks that just because of the strongest fighters in the universe, that would make a perfect being. And of course, as we've seen, Gohan killing him pretty much proves that he's not a perfect being. So yeah, for all those reasons, he's at my number 6 spot. At my number 5 spot, we have Piccolo. Now, the thing I like about Piccolo is that he's a very stoic character, he's very strong, and he's been proven to be one of the most youthful characters in the series. So the thing about him is, had it not been for him, Goku wouldn't have been able to defeat Raditz, because initially it was just, you know, Raditz and Goku, in a way. But Piccolo decided to team up with him so that they could defeat Raditz, and had it not been for Piccolo, they wouldn't have done so. There's also the fact that he was the strongest person to fight against Nappa, so there's that too. Also, he fought against Frieza, so he at least provided a distraction when it came to that arc. And he even fought Cell to a certain extent, and although he didn't really do that well against him the second time they fought, he still gathered some vital information the first time he fought. So, and of course he trained Goten and Trunks to use the fusion dance, so don't let anyone tell you that Piccolo was useless the whole time. Now sure, from an overall narrative perspective he probably was, but when it comes to just certain things, whether contrived or not, he was definitely needed in order to progress certain events, because had things have gone differently, they wouldn't have turned out as well. So anyway, for those reasons, and because of his relationship with certain characters, such as his relationship between him and Gohan, you know, being sort of a mentor and pupil relationship, which in some ways became, I guess you could say, an uncle and nephew relationship. There's also the relationship between him and Goku, you know, former rivals, now best friends kind of thing. And even the relationship between him and Vegeta, like very antagonistic through most of the series, and then mutual respect near the end of the series. Anyway, for all those reasons, I would say that Piccolo is at my number 5 spot. At my number 4 spot, we have Future Trunks. No, not Kid Trunks. Ugh. Future Trunks. So, the things I enjoy about Future Trunks is the fact that he has one of the best intros ever out of any character. I mean, he comes in completely unknown, and he just decimates Frieza and his father. And he turns into a Super Saiyan, and he has a cool sword, and just so many things. And he accurately predicts when Goku's going to arrive. I mean, you can't get much better than that. Granted, they weren't able to keep up the hype for that long, but nonetheless, it was great while it lasted, right? And, you know, I really enjoy his personality, the fact that he is pretty much the exact opposite of Vegeta. In that, you know, he doesn't like to fight necessarily like Vegeta, but he does anyway. And unlike Vegeta and Goku, frankly, who they just mess around during their fight, he basically ends it as quickly as he can. And on top of that, instead of being a proud Saiyan like his father, he's very humble. And, you know, I can't prove it, but I think that Toriyama designed him that way for a reason, to be the exact opposite, the exact antithesis of Vegeta, with the exception of being a fighter in general. But, you know, other than being a fighter, I think that he designed him specifically to be the anti-Vegeta. And, of course, I like the fact that, you know, he turns into a Super Saiyan and he ends up defeating quite a few opponents. You know, he defeats the androids and Cell, in addition to Frieza and his father. At my number 3 spot, we have Frieza. Now, sure, he may not have the same kind of motivations as Cell. You know, Cell had the motivation to become perfect, whereas Frieza just has a standard motivation of a villain to rule the universe. At the same time, I feel a lot of other things about him are more interesting. The fact that he's more connected with Vegeta and Goku and the Saiyans, the fact that he destroyed their planet, the fact that he was the one who invaded Namek, and how he has a connection with them as well. You know, all of those make him, at least in my opinion, more interesting than Cell. Plus, there's the fact that he has a very interesting personality as well. I mean, Cell does too, but in my opinion, Cell in the English dub has a bit more personality than him in the Japanese, because him in the Japanese is basically just your generic villain. Whereas Frieza in the Japanese, he comes off as very polite and reserved and very regal. But at the same time, you can obviously tell there's a dark side to him, as has been revealed in the series. And of course, Frieza is just really, really powerful. You know, comparatively, I think he's even more OP than Cell. I say comparatively, not, you know, literally. Literally, Cell is more powerful, but comparatively, I think Frieza was more powerful because there didn't seem to be any end to his power reserves, whereas that wasn't the case with Cell. And on top of that, he's the one that forced Goku to become a Super Saiyan, so, you know, you can't understate how important that was. If you want to get technical, Gohan became a Super Saiyan 2 before he even met Cell. So, Cell wasn't even the one that really did it. He was just the one that made him conscious of it. Whereas Frieza actually flat out forced Goku to become a Super Saiyan. So for all those reasons, Frieza is definitely my favorite villain on this list. Spoiler alert. At my number 2 spot is Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans. So the reason why Vegeta is at my number 2 spot is because he by far has the best character and best character growth in the entire series. See, the thing about him is he grows significantly every single arc, from the moment we first see him to the very last point of Z. And he probably has the most consistent character growth. You can't even say that about Gohan or Piccolo or Curren or any of those other characters. He definitely has the most consistent growth. Also, he's very fun to watch when it comes to fights. Cause see, he loses half the time, but he also wins half the time too. And I notice that when he loses spectacularly. Like, I rarely like to watch characters lose because it gets boring, but Vegeta, for some reason, whenever I watch Vegeta get pummeled, it's just fun to watch. And it has nothing to do with, sadistic type of stuff. It's just, I don't know, Toriyama just finds a way to make Vegeta fights, whether they're him losing or winning, just very entertaining. And of course, I also like to watch him win. I like to watch him pummel the bad guys, whether it be Zarbon or Dodoria or Jace or even Captain Ginyu or any other villain for that matter. Cell, just whoever. And of course, I also like Vegeta's personality. I like how he changes over time, which I suppose relates to his character growth, but this is a little more specific. I like his personality as he changes. Now, granted, I didn't like him in the Cell arc. That's where I think he was at his low point, but I really enjoyed Vegeta's character mostly in the, I would say, the Frieza arc and the Buu arc. That's where I enjoyed his character the most. That's why I think Toriyama shined when it came to characterization of Vegeta. And of course he has some pretty cool attacks as well. Gallic Gun, Final Flash. And of course he can also transform to Super Saiyan and all those things. And of course the rivalry between him and Goku, particularly the fact that it's incited really by Vegeta. All those reasons are why Vegeta is my second favorite character. At my number 1 spot is of course Goku. Now sure, Goku may not have the most character development, but it's incorrect to say that he doesn't have any. He does have some. For example, at a certain point he tries to look for a successor to take over the earth because he realizes that he's not going to be around forever and that they can't just rely on him. And he tries this multiple times, first with Gohan, and that fails. Then he does so with Goten and Trunks, which of course fails. Then finally he goes with Oob. In many ways, that is one of his main character developments in this series. That he tries to find a successor, that he realizes that he's so powerful, but he's not going to be around forever, so he's mature enough to see that, yeah, I need a successor. And I think another bit of character development that a lot of people don't mention is the fact that he becomes more aware of his Saiyan heritage as the series goes along, and he starts to act more and more like a Saiyan. He keeps bringing up the fact that he enjoys the fight and that he gets that from Saiyan heritage. And at first he sort of is uncomfortable with it, but then he just accepts it. So I feel that that's another bit of character development, whether people want to bring it up or not. And of course there's the fact that, Goku, in my opinion, has some of the best fights in the series. The fight against him in Nappa was pretty good. The fight against him and Vegeta was excellent. Of course, there's him versus the Ginyu Force, him versus Frieza. When he fought Cell, that was epic. In my opinion, that was even better than the fight between Gohan and Cell, which might upset a lot of people, but, it's just my opinion. And of course, I enjoyed the fight between him and Buu. So, in my opinion, Goku even has some of the best fights in the series. And, to me, he's just a very iconic character. I mean, the others are iconic too, but not to the same extent as Goku. I don't know, for me, Goku's just the most entertaining to watch overall, even compared to characters like Vegeta, who can annoy me at certain times, and, Gohan, Curren, Piccolo, but, Goku can annoy me, but not as often as the other characters. Maybe it's because I'm used to him more or something. I don't know. And that's been my top 10 favorite Dragon Ball Z characters. Now, 2 things I want to note before I close. 1, when I stated that Frieza was my favorite villain, I was counting Vegeta, but I was looking at the entire character arc of Vegeta. And of course, at a certain point, I don't consider Vegeta to be a villain, so keep that in mind. And 2, this isn't an all-time list. This is just currently, because my tastes do change over time. So keep all that in mind. Anyway, see you guys later.